welcome back to Head Over Heels. My name is Maggie, your host, and I have lost count on how many episodes we have this season because we didn't manage to record any in the month of February, but I'm very excited to be doing this today because we will be celebrating, some of the most iconic sports women with us right here. But before that, I've got a little fun fact. Did you know that about 150 years ago, prior to the 1870s, right? Sports for women only existed in the form of play and recreation rather than being competitive. So fast forward today, well, some of us, ladies, we partake in sports in our leisure time, but some of them, they dedicate their whole lives to it. And today we have not one, not two, not three of Malaysia's most iconic sports women with us right here on Head Over Heels. It's such an honor. So I'm just going to say hi, ladies.
Hello.
So we've been trying to rehearse the starting point. It's always awkward, but we'll make it comfortable along the way. But yeah, ladies, hello, everybody. We had a chat earlier. It was a really nice chat. So right now we're just on camera. That's the only difference. How's everyone feeling today?
I'm good. Feeling really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Mm-hmm.
Same here.
Okay. Now you heard three voices, but I haven't introduced them. So right next to me, if you are on Spotify, you guys feel free to hop onto YouTube to see their beautiful faces. And then, some people need a face to the names. If you want to do that, feel free. Right next to me is Keshika Subbarao. And right next to Cash is Farah Ann. And of course, we have Carolyn Au Yong. So ladies, would you do the honor to just do a quick introduction of yourself? Maybe Carolyn, you can go first.
So I'm Carolyn. I'm a rhythmic gymnastics coach. I opened a school called Rhythmic, Carolyn School of Rhythmic Gymnastics, and I teach young kids. I used to be a rhythmic gymnast. So I represented Malaysia for the 18th Commonwealth Games held in Malaysia.
Yeah, that was in 1998.
Yes,
am I
that's
right?
right.
And how old were you?
I was 16 years old then.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you won gold and bronze.
Yes,
am I right?
That's right. Yeah.
And what about you, Farah?
So I am Farah Ann, and I am a national artistic gymnast. I'm the first woman in 20 years to qualify for the Olympic Games. I have been a gymnast for coming 25 years. I'm turning 28 this year. And I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, it does. I was going to say, you go, girl.
I think that's enough.
Yeah, no worries. Honestly, the introduction is always a little awkward. And to our audience, bear with us. We just met each other. So it's always like that. But as we go along, we'll get more comfortable. But what about you, Cash? I mean, you see, we're already friends. I'm calling her Cash already. But yes, Keshika. Yes, go ahead.
So my name is Keshika Subbarao. I'm a football coach. I'm currently the head coach for the FC Kuala Lumpur first team. And I've just recently started my own football academy as well in Putrajaya.
Wow.
So I've been coaching for about 10 years, but I've been involved in sports pretty much all my life.
Yeah. And that's why we got all you ladies here today, because I think it's really high time we start giving our female athletes and sports women the recognition that they deserve in the world of sports, and really make it known that women in sports can make it as competitive, as exciting, and that's why we are here today. Am I right, ladies? That's right. I hear the yeses. Okay, so now we've got to know a little bit about you. That's just a very brief introduction. We want to get deeper into it. But before that, though, let's rewind a little. Go way back to maybe in your first few years in sports. Like, how did it start? Like, what made you pick the sport that you're in right now? Maybe Cash, you want to go first?
So, I went to a Chinese primary school. So the first sports that I got involved in was mostly basketball and volleyball. But I've always had an interest in football because my dad used to be a semi-professional footballer. So we had trophies and we had photos in the house. So I was very curious about the sport, but I didn't get opportunity to play it. And also back then, in Malaysia especially, it's not easy for girls to get involved in football.
That's very true. I don't remember having even a football club in my school then. Yeah.
So most schools, when we have like physical education, girls are not allowed to play football. You get to play like
it's
netball,
almost like
I
it's
think?
exclusive for the boys.
Yeah,
Am I
yeah.
right?
There's that idea that it's only for the boys.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to try it, but I've never gotten the opportunity. So that ended up making me want to do that even more.
That's right, girl.
So that's how, but then I think I started around 14.
Yeah.
So it's a bit too late to start from scratch again. So I started getting involved in the media side of football while playing for fun. So that's where I got involved in football.
So it's always been in you. I love that. Farah, what about you? And I remember you were saying you started at age 3.
Yes.
I was going to say, wow, that's really young.
I started very, very young, but I think it's quite natural for gymnasts to start at a very young age. And I started at 3. And then I joined the national team. I think my first competition was when I was 6 years old, 7 MSSM. And then when I was 8, I joined the national team. And then when I was 10 was the first time I represented Malaysia.
Wow.
I remember my first competition in Singapore. And then it really just progressed because I think the first moment I knew I fell in love with sports, especially gymnastics, was when I was 6 years old.
Wow.
And I knew that this was something that I loved. And even in school, in report cards, you have like the, what do you want to be? And I always put like gymnast.
Really?
Yeah, so I put gymnast. And then my mom was a teacher, so like, okay lah, put teacher lah.
Yeah, because we got to give options, right?
Options. So 3, like 2 of them were always gymnasts. And and then I represented Malaysia at the SEA Games, then Commonwealth Games, Asian Games, and just recently at the Olympics.
Nice. And congratulations on your recent win, by the way.
Thank
we were
you.
so proud of you. Yeah. And what about you, Carolyn?
Well, I started gymnastics when I was 9 years old, and it was in school. My school is an all-girls school, so I was in Bukit Bintang Girls' School.
Yeah.
So I started off there just as an activity because I was looking at all the older girls and I'm like, why not try it out, right? So it was never to actually pursue the sport in a higher level.
Right.
But eventually I got into the sports, I got into competitions and all that. And then I decided, hey, maybe it's something I could do. I could pursue further, which I did. So I got into gymnastics at 9. Went for more competitions when I was 12 years old above. And then I got into the national team as well about 12 years old. So that was a little bit late compared to Farah Ann. But I pursued it and I had a goal. I'm like, okay, let's just focus on going to go to the Commonwealth Games.
Yes.
Which I did, which was when I was 16 years old.
That's amazing.
And once I did that, I decided, okay, maybe just step back down and go back to real life, being a teenager,
Yes.
Yeah, but I actually enjoyed my time as a gymnast and my basically that,
You know what? I really like that at 16 you knew, okay, I've done this, I got this, now I want to try something else. Like you knew what you wanted to do at such a young age.
Yeah. Yes.
So you knew you wanted to step back at 16 after the Commonwealth.
Yes, I did. So I did a lot of competitions. So Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, other competitions as well.
Yeah.
And my main goal was actually for Commonwealth Games.
I love that.
Yes.
And you nailed it, girl. Okay, I think before we go further, right, because I think Carolyn and Farah, both of you are in gymnastics, but in the very different what do you call it?
Category?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So don't mind my silly question, but for someone like me, I may get confused. To me, gymnasts may be the same thing, but it's different. Am I right? And there are different categories. And what you're doing, Farah, and what you did, Carolyn, and is still doing and teaching is different. Yes. Rhythmic and artistic gymnastics.
Yes.
Do you mind just breaking it down for us a little?
Yeah. So I do rhythmic gymnastics. Rhythmic gymnastics is actually only for girls.
Oh,
yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and I think we start off at a very early age. So that's the same.
Yeah.
But we do with the apparatus like the ball, the clubs, the rope, the hoop, and the ribbon, which everyone wants to play about, especially the little kids.
Yes.
Yeah. And so artistic, we also use apparatus, but we have, I guess, like bigger apparatus. So we have the floor, a vault, bar, and beam. But it's a men and female sport.
Right.
And to further clarify, gymnastics actually has also other different like divisions.
Yes.
So we have acrobatics, we have trampoline, we have aerobics, then artistic and rhythmic. And I think they just put in parkour into the category of gymnastics. So actually we're all gymnasts, but in different categories. Yeah, and we do not. So it's different sports.
Right.
So I think to let people easier to understand is so like aquatics.
Yes.
So you have swimming, you have diving, and you don't interchange. So that's the
Correct.
same for gymnastics. Although rhythmic and artistic are similar in like maybe like 1-2%.
Yes.
Well, that's very different.
2%. But yeah, we cannot like interchange.
Right. And in Malaysia, you mentioned there's only the two categories. That's the rhythmic and artistic
Yes.
gymnastics.
Two categories.
That's right.
I see. Okay. So to those of you listening who has always wondered, just like me, I hope that clarified your curiosity. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I really like that. And that's just the beginning of our conversation. So of course, today's conversation is really to dive deep into understanding your respective journeys in sports and your stories behind each chosen field which you did. But of course, I'm pretty sure there's more to it. So today with us, we do have three very different individuals, as you can see, but they're all driven with the same goal, to make a difference for women in sports. As before we go further, okay, this is a very interesting question. I'm pretty sure you've experienced this before. Have you ever encountered any naysayers? See, told you. Telling you, no, you shouldn't be doing this. And if yes, you did, what spurred you to continue on? Because if you didn't, you wouldn't be sitting here with us. So, who wants to take this?
Okay, I guess I'll take it.
Farah, go ahead.
I think for me, when I was younger, the naysayers, I wouldn't say that there were a lot, because I was very lucky to be growing up in an environment where I had very supportive parents and like a family. And in school, I was very competitive. So I was always, okay, if the boys are doing this, and because gymnastics, I didn't do it in school.
Oh.
So it was something that I did in like
Out of
class,
school.
out of school. So
Right.
that was a separate thing. So I never compared it. But then as I grew older, and especially being a young woman in sports, and plus I think it was more of like the media, and especially when you're competing for Malaysia, and when if you lose, and I was quite a tall gymnast, and I was quite a little bit, I wouldn't say I was heavier, like fat, but as a gymnast, I was always bigger, so people always call me fat, and that really spurred on, especially when I lost.
Yeah.
People were like, oh, you're too big, you're too fat, you're too injured, you shouldn't do this, it's not a good sport for girls. And I think that really, yes, it hurt me, but I was just like, this is what I want to do, and I want to be successful in it, and I don't care, because I have people who support me in my life, and this is something that I want to pursue for myself.
Yeah.
And I just kind of put that as like the kindling to my fire, to make sure, I'm going to prove all these people wrong.
I love that. Channeling that hate into something better, right? Cash, I feel like you have something to say. I could feel it because she's right next to me.
I'm ready.
I could feel the fire burning in you. But yeah, share with us.
So I just thought what Farah said was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's two very different sports, but it's kind of the same response. Because obviously football is always seen as a male-dominant sport, and women shouldn't be in it.
Yeah.
So that was something that I thought would only be part of my career in the beginning. So eventually, when you get to a certain point, people will see what you can do, and then they'll just stop talking about it.
Yeah.
But I think recently I found out that never goes away.
Oh.
So I just thought it was quite interesting.
Yeah, like I guess people will always have something to say. And whether or not we give them that power to affect us, I think that makes a difference, right? Yeah, so that's something that not just as an athlete, as a human being in your workplace, I think everybody experiences that. So guys, let's just be kinder. Also busybody, right? Like, yeah, I wonder why though, like people would just have such an opinion about something that's not even their lives.
I think it's like because with like social media now, it's so easy for people just to type things, and especially like what Cash said is so true. Like you would think that, oh, I proved people, I'm doing my best, and you're putting your heart out. But then people always like will nitpick.
Yes.
And I think that's why, especially what you said, it's really, really true. We just need to like prove ourselves, and just go on and do what we're best at.
Do what you do best, and let your work do the talking. Let your success do the talking. I like that. And speaking of which, right, my next question is, what are some of the most memorable competitions you've taken part in, you've partaked in? Like, Kesh, I know you coach a bunch of boys, a group of boys, and they go for competitions. And yeah, what's that like for you? What was the most memorable one for you?
So I think this was pre-pandemic. That's the last time
we can relate.
That was the last time we had like a competition where we had to travel.
Yes.
So we were kind of the underdog team going in, and it was memorable because of how the boys came through and ended up beating all the previous champions, even though they were
Wow.
new at that time.
Yeah.
So that was kind of quite a memorable tournament for me because I was not a proven coach for like a older boys team or a
Yep.
men's team at that point.
Yeah.
So when that had happened, it kind of validated me, my understanding of my abilities as well.
Yes.
But also seeing how eager they were and how they're willing to take things. I thought that was quite an interesting tournament for me.
What about you, Farah? I'm sure you've been to many, many games.
Yes, to many games. But I think I don't know if people know this, but actually my older sister Katrina Ann, she was an artistic swimmer, and so I think one of the big games. I do have a lot of very memorable, but I think I'll talk about like Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
So my first Commonwealth game was in New Delhi, and it was with my older sister. So we got to walk in the opening ceremony together, and my parents plus my younger sister went to watch, and that was my first time at a very big competition and to kind of like really see, and then with the crowd, and it was so memorable because it was the first time that I went to represent Malaysia, but also it was the first time that I felt that I really belonged in the sport and that I wanted to do this more in the future and to have my family there, and then to have that whole experience and the opening ceremony in Delhi. It was so amazing for the Commonwealth Games, and the color and it was just the most spectacular thing I even remember. And that time Jai Ho, the song Jai Ho was popular. And so at the end of the opening, we're all just like,
I feel like I remember this.
And it was just such an amazing competition. And throughout all my competitions, like the other Commonwealth Games I've been to, Australia, Gold Coast, and also in sorry, 2014,
Too many.
18, and
I've only been to one.
But we'll still get to you, Carolyn.
yeah, sorry, 10, 14. So Delhi was 10 and then 14. And in Scotland.
Yeah.
Actually also in, sorry, my story very long.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so I'll just touch on like Commonwealth
Yeah,
Games
for
just
sure.
because, and in Scotland, I think a lot of people didn't know that I actually was one of the only one who qualified for the finals. And so when I was warming up for the individual all around, I was warming up and I actually tripped and I skinned my knee. So I had like this huge gash on my knee.
Yeah.
And even before that, when I was warming up for beam, I fell and I kind of like twisted one of my like toes.
Yeah.
And so I was wrapped up, I was on painkillers, and then I skinned my knee and I had this huge gash on my knee. And my coach was like, I don't know if she's going to go out and compete because I'm like limping. I'm limping out, and I go out there and my parents, my teammates are like, what's wrong? Like, because you see in the video, there's like this red thing that's like a little bit bleeding.
Yeah.
And it was one of my best performances ever. Because
No way.
it was the crowd, it was amazing. And like, my parents couldn't be there at that time, but it was just, and that was like, I guess that was the start of my career as like an older female athlete. And that kind of was the beginning of that phase of my life.
Wow.
So that was also a very, very memorable part of my journey.
I can't even walk with the gash on my knee. You won it, girl. Oh my goodness. Okay, Carolyn. What about
I
you?
agree, very memorable when you have family there.
Oh, yeah,
you
very
know?
true.
And when you say you have your sister there, I had goosebumps,
Oh, wow.
So like during the Commonwealth Games, the 18 Commonwealth Games, of course it was in Malaysia.
Yes.
So family, friends,
yes.
everyone
Everyone
was
could make
there.
it.
And not just everyone, the whole Malaysia was there. We had more Malaysians than anyone else in the crowd. So to me, just home ground itself, that feeling of being home and performing in front of so many people, it's just very, very memorable and very exciting. It gives me that kind of energy that I want to burst into doing a really good performance for everyone as well, especially when I've worked so hard.
For sure.
For that games.
Yeah.
So that's the most memorable one for me.
And you were 16.
Yes, I was 16 years
Wow.
old. Yeah.
That's amazing, ladies. I mean, I have no words. I mean, when Farah talks about how the opening ceremony is so amazing and mesmerizing, I can only imagine because I only watch it through TV. And you guys are there in flesh, and I can only imagine.
I just realized that we were the same age.
Oh.
For our first Commonwealth, because I was 16 and you were 16.
There we go. Some common stories there. But also, I think since the upcoming Commonwealth Games is going to be in Birmingham, right? And Kesh, I was told that you were studying in the UK. And I think we want to know as well, like, how was that experience like for you?
So I went to the UK around 2010, 2011. So I was just turning 17 at the point, I think. The main reason I wanted to study in the UK was because I wanted to pursue a football degree.
Oh,
So
they have a football degree.
I think that was the first year they introduced
That's
such a
very
thing.
interesting. Okay, what do
Yeah.
you study
So
in a football?
I can't even remember now.
Oh yeah, you
because
didn't
I
pursue
do
it. Okay, you did something else. Okay,
Yeah.
yes, you did something else. So let's share with us.
So initially I applied and
Yeah.
got in because at that point I was already involved in football for quite a few years. So I managed to get into the course, but because of the age and you need to do a gap in
Yeah.
between it.
Yeah.
So I had to do either A-levels or foundation in science to do the degree.
Yeah.
So I accepted the offer. I went to the UK to do foundation in science, but at the time because I was so young and I
Yes.
was literally continents away and
Yeah.
on my own, everyone around me told me that it's a bad idea to do football degree because someone actually brought up a statistic saying that for every 100,000 jobs available in football, there's only one for women at that time. So they were saying that doing a football degree is pointless because you might get it done
Yeah.
and not be able to work in the
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah.
So at that time, because you had teachers, you had counselors, everyone saying the same thing,
Yeah.
I thought the best option was to do something that's somewhat
Safer?
easier
All right.
because I still wanted to pursue football on the
Yeah.
side, but at the same time do something that won't take up too much of my time. So that's when I applied to do a law degree.
Law is easy for you.
Well, because it's no maths.
I was just like, easy, okay, law, all right. I cried studying business law. Okay, but yeah, for real.
Yeah, because the lack of maths.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
but
fair.
also, I could read fast and understand concepts quickly.
Girl, I
so
love
I
it.
thought that would be a better option because you could do that and still focus on doing football.
Yeah, you wanted something that was able to let you have that bit of a freedom to still pursue what you love, that was football. But you also loved law, or did you not? Or you were just doing
I
it
don't have
because
strong opinions about it, but it was the thought process was that,
like that.
if I don't make it in football, at
Yes.
least I could go into sports law, and that was
Right.
like the minimum.
That's
entry.
a very smart decision, honestly. Yeah, but you ended up still thriving in sports, and I love that.
I think once I was in law itself, I thought that it's not something that I wanted to do because it's something I could do, but it doesn't drive me in any way.
Yeah.
I don't feel anything for it.
No
No
fire,
passion,
yeah,
nothing.
no passion.
So I continued coaching football, and then eventually, once I was done with the degree,
Yeah.
I knew for sure that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I just went full time into it.
So that experience in the UK really shaped your experience. I mean, your decision to becoming a coach.
I think yes,
Is that-
because
is
I
this-
was given a lot of opportunities to work within the professional setting. So I was working for professional clubs in the media side, in
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah.
So it gave me firsthand experience in how to do this and if I want to do this.
Yeah.
So it was a big part. And I also did my coaching qualification and scouting qualification in the UK. So
Oh,
it was a big part of my decision in becoming a football coach.
I love that. And when did you come back to Malaysia?
I think 2017 or 2018.
And was that tough to kind of like land the gig that you are doing today, or people were very welcoming about having a female coach in the football?
I think it was quite like the second option. I think it was quite difficult for people to accept that because initially when I was in the UK and I'd come back for the summer holidays, people were more willing to talk
Yeah.
about me potentially coming back because they thought I wouldn't do it.
Right.
So when I actually came back, a lot of them stopped talking to me in a way because they didn't want me to pursue this. And there was this idea that women shouldn't be in football to begin with, and it was a joke, and I would just forget about it.
Yeah.
So that was the consensus at the time. So it took many years before I could get to this point.
And I just want to applaud you for pushing through, girl.
Thank you.
And, you know, putting your place in this world of sports that's so dominated by men. I mean, we love our men, right? But unfortunately, that's just the society's perspective that there's no place for women in football. And that's not true. Kesh, you've been doing such amazing job with your team and just paving ways for future generations of female sportswomen, female athletes as well. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank
you for pushing through, really. I think that's how you make a difference, am I right? And also for you guys who are wondering, the Commonwealth Games 2022 is going to be held in Birmingham and starting on the 28th of July and all the way till 8th of August, if I'm not wrong, right? Yeah, we will be putting out more details in the description down below. But right now, I have more questions. Farah, is there something you want to share?
I think the Commonwealth Games, especially that will be held in Birmingham, will be such an amazing experience.
For sure.
And every Commonwealth Games, I've been to 3,
Yeah.
has always left an imprint in my mind. And through even competition or the opening ceremony or the people, like the people, every time you go for a game, all the people, the supporters are so amazing. They show up at the stadiums. They're and at the athletes' village. You feel such. You get to see the culture, you get to see the people, you talk to everyone from every other country, but also the camaraderie between you and your teammates, but also with other countries as well.
Sure.
So I am sure that this Commonwealth Games is going to be so amazing, and I really, really wish all the athletes competing a wonderful, wonderful competition, and good luck.
Love that. And yeah, I love the inclusivity, the diversity that you do see from sports in general. Like, I get emotional watching all these ceremonies. I'm not sure why. I'm sure you guys too, being there yourself. Yeah.
I think, especially like watching, like teammates compete, or even though they win, or even everyone watching the Winter Olympics, I was just
it
like,
unites people.
Like so because like, I know what they're like feeling, or when they're upset, especially as an athlete, or even if you're in sports, right? You know what. As a coach, you know what the athlete is feeling, and as an athlete, you know what they are going through. So you feel everything that they're feeling, and then sometimes my parents are like, "Why are you crying?" Because I know what they're feeling. And then I'm there, like me and my elder sister, especially, we're just like tearing.
Oh no!
And when they win, and it's just like, especially winning, especially you in Malaysia, especially, it must have been such an amazing opportunity to feel that.
I think the whole working hard, you need to really work hard to get to where you are. It's not just, yay, I'm going. You know? It's the process, the training, the hours you put in, the time you put in with the coach, and just hard work and tears, especially when you're at such a young age. You don't get to be like let's say when I was 12 to 16 years old. Everyone that age, you're a teenager, you go out, you go for movies, you hang out with friends. But at that period in time, I was just training, it was just training and then school and then back to training. It's never ending. And we get like maybe once a week off. And even that, it's just for family, So they don't, not many people know how far and how much we have to put in, the work that we have to put in to get into that stage. So when you perform and you compete and you see that person, you really feel that, Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Like, how much hours of training in a day?
Too much.
Yeah. If you can quantify it, how many hours do you spend on training?
So I think for me, throughout my career, it's been very diversified. So when I was younger, I think around like my teenage years. So I'll give you like during high school. So in high school, we had school. I had training from 7 to 8:30, and then I had school from 9:30 to 2:30. Then I had training 3 to 7. Then I had classes 8:30 to 10. That was Monday to Friday, and then on Saturdays we had training from 9 to 1. Okay. So
Did you get that?
I got that. I won't ask again. I'm sorry.
No, but like as you grow older, like now as a professional athlete, it's similar schedules, but because I say I'm like more professional older, so the time is more. It's different. Flexible. We do more quality training than quantity.
Got it.
And so it could be maybe like from 4 to 6 hours a day of training from Mondays to Saturdays. Still a lot.
Yeah, still a lot.
Still a lot, but a bit more flexible.
I go for a 20 minutes run. Sometimes I'm tired already.
So I hate running. I understand.
Why so long? Okay.
So when I was a gymnast, I was doing 6 to 7 hours as well.
Wow.
But now I think the national girls are doing more.
Yeah.
So I'm also involved in the national girls because
training
I'm also
them, right?
no, not training
not
them.
training
So
them.
I train the younger girls.
Okay.
But I'm also involved in the national team as well because I'm in the committee. I'm also a national international judge as well. So I do see them once in a while to judge, like control testing and all that. So they do put up a lot of time during training. Some of them go up to 8, 9 o'clock in the evening as well.
Wow, that's
very, very, very like long hours, and even like Sundays, even though it's one day rest, but most of the time we spend with family or we're sleeping. I usually find myself just like sleeping all day.
Yeah.
And that's not even talking about like recovery and rehab and physio and maybe going to the ISC, a psychologist, and then nutrition, and it all actually adds up to being basically like a 8 to 8 time job like every day.
Then how do you make time for everything else? Like
You
family.
don't.
You don't? Wow.
Well, like time, like I guess like time management. So a lot of our families really understand that, you know, we are doing this because it's our passion. We love this. And so they understand that, you know, like even my friends when I was in university, they knew that I was always very busy. So they carved out time to spend with me, or they helped me doing assignments. And my family knew that, okay, we have family dinners on Saturday night, and everyone tried to be together because that was the only day.
Yeah.
And so you find people in your life that understand your journey, and you kind of form a bigger family with your gymnastics family and also like your own family.
I love that.
And I think with that said, I think our parents, they sacrifice a lot for us.
For sure.
You know, with when we were younger, obviously they're sending us to and fro training. So they actually put up a lot with, put down what they do, and actually it's all about us. Yeah. So it's very important to have that family support, because without that, then, you know, you won't get that. You won't be strong enough in that sport as well.
Yeah. Would you say someone without the support system that you had, would they still be able to thrive in sports? Or that is really one of the most very important element when it comes to sports? Very curious.
I think it's very important because there was once where I actually didn't want to continue gymnastics. And my parents had to actually speak with me and talk through it with me, because I was a kid, you know, and nobody would understand me other than my parents and obviously my coach as well.
Right.
So I think this support system is very important. But at the same time, we are trained to be also mentally strong. You know, we also have a mental trainer. I remember that. And we had to go through that so that we understand what the process is like to be in the national team. Because a lot of kids now, they think that, oh, you know, I'll just join the sport and I'll get into the national team, but it's not like that.
Simple.
Yeah, it's not that simple. Yeah.
Very, very true what you're saying. But I think also that I know some of not my teammates, but I know of athletes who don't have the support, or their family doesn't think that, you know, sports is a viable outcome or a profession.
Yeah.
But I see them thrive because I think ultimately we make our own choices in our lives, and even if people don't support, we can carve out. But saying that, of course, I think family, like even for me, my family was the one who, without them, I would never ever be here today. Because my parents sent me to and fro, and so really without them I wouldn't be here. But I know that some people don't have that, and just saying to them that, you know, even though you don't, you have to always believe in yourself, and you just pursue what you want and your passion, and you will get there.
I love that. Thanks for sharing. Really, I think that was very, very insightful. Because we've only seen when you guys were competing or like in action, but like just going down to the human level of being an athlete, that was very interesting. Having said that, you know, we have witnessed your rise, your glory, your peak of your performance during games, your tournaments, just really witnessing what you ladies do, what you do best. But of course, I am very curious. How do you keep showing up even on your hardest days? I'm pretty sure there are challenges, so I'm sure there are a lot of stories, so spill it, girl. But yeah, tell us, very curious. How do you show up, keep showing up?
I think for me especially was having a goal in mind.
Yeah.
So to knowing that every step of the process that I needed to take, even on days where I felt tired, I didn't want to go for training, I was in pain. Most of the time we're always in pain. As an athlete, always something is pain, something is hurting, you're tired. But having that goal in mind and knowing that every step will help me in the process. And also in saying that there are going to be very, very bad days. There are going to be very good days. There are going to be days that you love the sport and days that you absolutely hate it. But having something in mind that you know that you want to get there, that really does help me as wanting to show up for myself.
having a goal and sticking to it, no matter what it takes. Yeah. What about Cash? Do you have?
I agree with Farah. I think that like having that tunnel vision is a big part of that process.
Yeah.
But for me, it's also remembering the naysayers and what they've said, because I feel like I would only quit on my terms. And
Oh yeah.
and most of the bad days and the tough times is because of people putting you in those positions.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of the thing I remember.
I like that. Carolyn, now you coach young kids right now.
Yes.
And I'm sure there are days where they don't want to show up, teacher, I don't want to train. But as a coach, how do you nurture that, or how do you help them go through that period of time?
Of course, now for kids,
Yeah.
it's very different training from
yeah?
the older ones and the
For sure.
national gymnast girls. So for me, I'm here to actually nurture them, to introduce them to the sport. So it's not really so much on pushing so hard or making sure they do it very well, but more for fun, to introduce, to let them know what the sport is really like, not just serious.
Yeah.
Because it is fun,
Yes.
especially at a very young age. So I take girls age 4 and above. Yeah, so 4 years old, their attention span is not very not very big. Yeah. So it's really more to introduce the sport.
Having fun with it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And then once they grow older, then they understand the sports better.
Yeah.
So then they go for competitions, and then the parents are there to help them out through the process as well.
Yeah.
Then you can see the improvement, which is really, really good for my side, because
Yeah.
I feel like it's an achievement. I
Yeah.
mean, it's their achievement, but
Yeah.
it's also mine as a coach.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. That's very interesting. We've got different perspectives here. But also, because being a woman, that also means we go through menstruation periods. So I've always been curious. Actually, we did put up like a question poll for your fans to ask some question. And this is one of the very commonly asked questions. Like, preparing for a tournament, yes, that's one. Training, that's one. But how do you still do it with your period cramps, with blood flowing out of our bodies? Like, how do you go through that? Mood swings, and I don't know.
I don't know. I think as an athlete, it's just that like something that as a woman we go through.
Yeah.
And so for us, it was just like, the training is this time, we're there.
Right.
And so it was just me just pushing.
Very matter of fact about it.
Yeah, matter of fact. I mean, like, we're a
Oh.
woman, this is something that we go through.
Yeah.
And sometimes during competitions, but also like, it's in your head, right? You're like, oh, okay, you need to remember so
Yeah.
that, because obviously we're in Leotards.
For sure.
And so you have to just like
Make sure there's no leak.
yeah,
and
just make sure
stuff.
there's no leak, and make sure that for me especially, like, I would like change my pad right before I go out, just to be safe. But also I think that it was I know I'm very lucky not to have very bad cramps, but I knew of a senior of mine who had really, really bad cramps, and our coaches really understood.
Okay.
They're like, oh, you have pain, and sometimes when I have back pain because of my period, then I know this. So I have to differentiate between my actual back pain and my period back pain to know that, like, okay, like this one I can push through, and then the other back pain maybe need to tell coach. But like things like that, go through your mind.
Yes,
but
yes.
I think as us, like, we are sports, and we do know that this is something that we go through, and we are very mindful. And I think especially when in a sports with like all girls with men, is something that we do have to talk to, and to
Yes.
teach the younger girls. It's something not to be ashamed of.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a very natural process.
Yeah.
And so I think the communication between us gymnasts, me especially a senior gymnast, to my juniors and the coaches, is an open communication. So that's really great.
Yeah, I like that. Like, you don't have to hide about it. Like, you've got a period today, and that's just how it is, right? Very matter of fact about it. I like that. Straightforward. Okay. Is there anything you want to add on?
No, because I actually got my period after I stopped gymnastics.
So
Yeah,
that's quite late,
so it's
right?
quite late.
Oh.
I think it's the diet and all that as well.
And the intensive training
Yes,
during
correct.
that
So I'm
period of
actually
time.
lucky enough not to be able to experience. But at the same time, sometimes when when juniors or kids ask me, I don't really know what to say.
Yeah.
But it's a process. It's something that you can't stop.
For sure.
Yeah, so you just have to go through with it.
Yeah. And I'm curious, does it affect your performance? No, it's just...
It doesn't affect your performance, but your body does feel a bit weird, I would say. I guess I it's not good to say weird, but I think it just feels different.
Off, like a little, something's not
like
quite
for
right.
For me, I think sometimes I get my thigh aches a little bit more. And as I said, my back hurts. So it's those certain things that I'm aware of, so I know.
Yeah.
And also sometimes my energy level does fluctuate. But in training, you're always tired all the time. So
I mean, she can win a goal with her knee gashed out. I mean, I think she can do anything.
yeah, but I think those are just the things. But it doesn't deter us in any way.
For sure. And I like that. And because people used to say and used to think that women are not as strong, not as capable as men because of period that's holding us back in terms of our physical capabilities. And this just goes to show it doesn't. Yeah, not at all. I mean, look at Farah. Come on. Okay. Yeah, wow. We've been talking for quite a bit and I still have a lot of questions. Do we have time? Yes? Yes. Of course, they are forced to sit here. I'm just kidding. It's very hard to get these three ladies together, so I'm very, very grateful. I'm just going to milk them as much as I can today. But yeah, for real. That was just a joke, by the way. Okay, let's talk about, we've talked about your experience as an athlete, your rise, and then your challenges. But what about, I'm very curious about an athlete's career span. Because when we talk about retirement age, it's not 50, 60 like the regular peeps, right? When it comes to the world of sports, it's very different. Maybe you guys can walk us through that. What determines a retirement age and when does an athlete usually retire? From football, from gymnastics? Yeah. Sorry, Carolyn. Okay. Sorry, to those of you guys who are listening on Spotify, as soon as I finished asking that question, all eyes were on Carolyn. So that's why she's like, why you look at me?
So for rhythmic gymnastics, and I think for artistic gymnastics as well, we start at very young age.
Yeah.
So Farah Ann started at 3, right?
Yeah, I started at 3.
So my girls, the little ones, I would take minimum 4 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, and maximum age for a newcomer would be 7 and below. So that's really,
Wow.
really young. Yeah, because they have to start at a very young age.
And this is if they want to make it into a career, like be competitive, join competitively.
Yes,
right?
that's
Okay.
right. Yeah, so we have to start very young because for rhythmic gymnastics, you have to have the agility, the flexibility, the strength and everything and the coordination as well.
Yes.
Right? So you have to learn it at a very young age.
Yes.
Yeah, so from there, we go on. I think for me, I stopped at 16, but that was also quite young.
Yeah.
The oldest gymnast, ex-gymnast in Malaysia was actually 20, if I'm not mistaken, 26, which is Amy Kwan. Yeah, Amy Kwan. So, and the current gymnast, national gymnast, the oldest is actually, I think 26 as well.
Around there.
Yes, Koi Sian. Yeah. So, that is actually the peak already. Yeah, so 26, 27, that's actually our peak. And some of the sports, they start a lot later and they finish a lot later. For us, we start very young, at a very young age.
Yeah.
And maximum would be around 26, 28. That's because our bodies change. Of course, we have our periods and all as well. We get a little bit stiffer with age as well.
Yeah.
And our body, our
Hormones?
yes, our hormones, everything we change.
Yeah.
So it's always very good for rhythmic gymnastics to start at a very, very young age.
Right.
Yeah.
So I asked this off camera just now. So if I'm, say, 15 and I want to start competing, cannot, right?
Not very possible unless you do it as like an activity, like
For fun.
Teenager or adult gymnastics.
Right.
Yeah, not really for
Like
competitive.
Because of just the bodily changes that we're going through and the capabilities that you can or cannot do at that age, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So like for example, with me with artistic, we both like gymnastics really start very young. So I started at 3.
Yeah.
And with artistics, it's a little bit different than rhythmic because rhythmic it's very much with flexibility and coordination.
Yes.
And with artistic, it's more tumbling and jumping and acrobatics. So we can start a little bit later as well. I have had teammates who started at the age of 10. I think one started at 11. And then so for gymnastics, artistic, junior age is 13 to 15. So if you compete internationally, 13 to 15, 16, you're a senior. So that's why when we're saying like 15, that means 16, you're already like a senior level gymnast.
Okay.
And so that's why like competitive in the Olympics, 16, you can already qualify. It used to be 12.
Okay.
But then due to the fact that a lot of gymnasts were breaking a lot earlier at that age, so they decided to pick it to 16. And retirement for artistic has been going out. So our oldest gymnast in the world is Oksana Chuchivindina, who is 47. I think she's turning. So I competed with her at the Olympics. We were the same group. Yes, 47.
amazing.
But she is 1 in 7 billion.
Oh yeah.
Like I cannot imagine anyone else, but she is the most amazing person, most amazing woman I've met.
Yeah.
And she's super. I just have no
words.
I have no words to explain how amazing that she is. But especially now with sports science and more knowledge about women's bodies and about training and the psychology of it, and also the training loads as a more senior athlete has been able to, for me, as I'm 28 and I've been doing this for 25 years and the age has really risen. So there is really no age that you retire. There's no like,
Not
okay,
such thing.
you're like 20 something.
That's it, you're done. No, right?
Yeah, there isn't. So you can stop or retire when you're 16, when like a lot of girls do, because they reach their peak and they want to do something else with their lives. And that's amazing. And some want to do it into their 30s. Some have kids, come back and still compete. Sure. And so it's really about choices that you want to make in your own lives where, you know, I've done everything I want to do in this sport and I've given everything that I can, and now I want to step down because I've achieved everything that I want. So people retire at that age.
Right.
So there really is the sky is really the limit and it really is a personal journey for each and every athlete. Yeah. And of course there are some who, because of injuries, but I'm so grateful now with sports science that people even with ACL injuries or like Achilles injuries come back and have amazing careers after that. So to answer your question, no, there really isn't an age. But yes, if you want to start at 15,
a bit susah ya.
Susah lah.
Tidak boleh sis.
But for main, like, you know,
I know, for fun, I
for
think it's
adult gymnastics, I think even football, like if you want to do it for fun, then
to join the Commonwealth game maybe cannot.
Can watch the Commonwealth game, can. Join maybe cannot.
I love it. Okay. Oh wow. Well, Kesh, but what about you? Now you are a coach. Is there such a thing as a retirement period or age, since there's no age, right, for a coach in general?
I think typically coaches start late in terms of their career.
It's almost usually after.
Yeah. Usually I think it's early 20s is the youngest usually. So I think from that point onwards, it's up to you when you want to retire. But with coaches, you don't always get a job lined up one after the other.
That's true too.
So it just depends on what you want to achieve out of your career and what level you want to get to. So there's no really like a limit for that.
And for you, do you have like a 10-year plan for yourself, or like a 5-year plan, or you're just going with the flow? How do you work?
So I think for me, my objective is to get to the highest level possible in the sport. So that's going to be a 20, 30-year journey. But along the way, I would like to try things that challenge me and things that I want to experience along the way. So that's one of the reasons why after hitting the milestone of coaching like a senior men's team, I wanted to try taking on my own academy as well. So it's just like building up those like small steps towards the big goal.
I love that. And you're only 27, Kesh. The world is your oyster. There's just so much more ahead of you. I'm super excited for your journey, really. And I'm so glad we got to meet because, when they mentioned your name to me, I was like, oh, wow, this is a very interesting profile. And I went to read into your story. I watched some of your interviews and I really, really, really love what you do. And I love that despite the naysayers, you still push through. I say so many times because I mean it. But yeah, okay. Then one last question for this blog really is, we talked about there's no retirement age, but say you do retire, usually what's the next step? Some people just don't touch gymnastics anymore, but some they do, like you said, will open up your academy, like you, Carolyn. Yeah, you're still dedicating your whole lives to it. So maybe you can talk to us about it.
So when I retired at the age of 16.
Do you know that you wanted to open then?
No, not at all.
Okay.
So I went to college. I did advertising and graphic designing. So I was thinking of going through to that area. But one day, one of the coaches asked me if I could help in, to try coaching as well. So I said, why not, right?
Yeah.
So I did that for once a week, twice a week.
Yeah.
And then I decided, hey, I actually like doing this.
Yeah.
And from a very young age, I actually like being around kids.
Right.
So
okay.
when I did that, when I started coaching, just helping out, I decided, hey, this is something I'd like to do. So I started off doing that and then going to schools, teaching gymnastics, like an outsourced sports. And then after a while, like in 2010, I said, why not just open a school and get them to come to me instead, instead of me going to them, right? So I did that, no hesitation at all.
Yeah.
I didn't even think whether it was going to work or not, but it was just really a goal. So as I was saying, as a gymnast, you just have a goal and you go for it. And I did that after being a gymnast.
Yeah.
So I opened my school in 2010 and it's now 2022. So that's
12
been
years.
12 years. I can't believe it myself. Yeah, so I've been having this school for 12 years now and I love what I'm doing. I love being able to nurture the kids and seeing them grow in the sport.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's not really, it's really for the younger girls.
Yes.
To groom them and then to get them to perhaps a national level.
Yes.
It's not really to just get them there, but more the process in learning what the sport's really like, what you need to do. And at the end of the day, they come out a lot more stronger as well. They come out a lot more disciplined.
Yeah.
I say that because me, myself as a gymnast, when I retired, I feel that I'm a lot more disciplined. I know what I want. I know the goals that I want to achieve. And I think it has actually, I've actually given that to my students as well. So the girls who have actually stopped gymnastics under my care, they've pursued their school and they're overseas now, and their parents come back to me and they thank me for it. They thank me because they say, my child, she knows what she wants.
Wow.
She's not swayed by other people. I'm not worried about her when she's overseas. So they basically have that goal. And I'm really thankful that I've been able to give that to them, Yeah.
Yeah. Goes to show that sports is not just physical. It does really shape you as a human being with the values that comes with it too. Love that. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think we got to move on to our next block of the conversation, although I want to stay on and ask more questions, but time is not really on our side. But okay, wow, this is going to be a little tough. I mean, for me at least. The scrutiny that women experience, and even more so female athletes, right? So it's really not uncommon for women athletes to be judged, scrutinized for the way they look as versus their performance compared to the male counterparts, right? When you see a man in Speedo, people don't talk much about it. But when you see, say, a female athlete in something more tight-fitting, people talk about it. So why being a pretty face is unfortunately being this common notion where people place more value in that than your performance. Maybe not all, but some. There are some. And have you ever experienced anything like that? And how did that make you feel? But I think after a conversation earlier, we know where you stand, Farah. Like, you're super strong-headed, level-headed. You know where your value are and what you're worth. But despite it all, has it ever affected you in any way? Or you, Carolyn and Cash?
Well, especially for me, I think, of course, any negative things that we see or we hear, and especially now with social media and comments, even though it can be like, okay, I don't care about what these people say. I don't know these people. Like, who
are they?
Who are they?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes they're just like empty accounts.
Yeah.
But words still hurt. And yeah, I'm so blessed and so thankful to be surrounded by amazing women, my family, my teammates, my coaches, friends. But of course, these comments hurt, and we're just human. Like, if we read this, it does, sometimes you don't want to internalize it, but it does sometimes come into your heart. And you're like, is this true? Like, what are these people saying? Is this true what they're saying about me? But I think that's when, especially for me, I have to block it out and say, you know what? This is my goal. I'm doing this for this. I'm doing this because I love my sport. I love doing gymnastics and competing and representing my country and making my country proud. And I have family and friends who support me, who I actually go to and talk to and discuss all these things. So, and in the end, it's just coming back to myself and saying, why am I doing this? Is it worth it? And it always the answer comes yes. And I'm saying, like, who are these people?
Nobody.
Go to this account. And sometimes I talk to myself in my room. I'm like, okay lah, come lah, say to my face. Like sometimes you just have to kind of just be like a little bit more, I guess, aggressive in a sense where, people get to say these horrible things to you and, comment on things where, in the end, it doesn't matter.
For sure.
It really doesn't.
Yeah. And I like what you did, that come say it to my face. And would they still say it? Probably not. Right? Having this much pressure being put onto you, not just the way we look, like just being women, doubting our capabilities, our abilities. For you, Kesh, very curious, have you ever been doubted your abilities by your students? Do you call them students? Your players, parents or guardians or whoever that think that, why are you coaching my kid? Have you ever experienced that?
Quite often.
Can you walk us through how that's like for you and how do you overcome it and what do you tell them?
I think when I was much younger, when I first started out, I used to get very emotional about it. I'll react, I'll get angry and then I'll get really sad about it because I felt that it was quite unfair, that I was judged on appearance or age, things like that, rather than what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
But then eventually the group that I have right now, the first team, they've never doubted my ability. They just walked in and they were just from day one, they bought into what I was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, now we get the pressure from external sources, like the people that watch the games, people that have heard about me. They come to games and sometimes you can hear them criticizing my looks and things like that from the sideline.
Yeah.
I would like to think that at this point you get desensitized from it. But as recently as last week, this had happened. And I reacted in a way that I didn't expect to react. I was really angry and then I was really upset. And that particular game, we won 6-1.
Wow.
But I was still more focused on what that had been said rather than the performance the boys put in and what we had done to get there.
Yeah.
So it still affects you on a day-to-day basis. But when I spoke to a friend about it, the concept of the weight of opinions came in.
Mm-hmm.
So someone close to you saying the same thing would have a different weight than someone on the sideline that don't know you.
Absolutely.
So it's just trying to find that focus and trying to take the emotions out for a while, get into perspective, and then move on from it.
I like that. Very practical step and practical way. Ask yourself, if this person said it to me, would it affect me as much as that person, right? Just kind of like putting into words and kind of breaking it down for you to understand how you feel. And for Carolyn, I'm also curious, you are coaching a group of really, I'm sure, adorable young girls, right? Actually, I would love to see what you do someday. I might come visit. But yeah, as a coach yourself, how do you think we can help these young athletes navigate through those experiences that you are going through?
I think to be very positive about it, to talk to them about it, to tell them and assure them that, what other people say, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, you are doing the sport.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it's whether you love the sport or not. So whoever that tells you that you're not good enough, or you can't do this sport, or you can't pursue it at all, it's just go in 1 year and come out the other year, because at the end of the day, you prove to them that you are better than the rest and you are going to be able to achieve what you want to achieve.
I think I will join your class. I'll sign up for a class soon. Not for the reason of competing in any game. But thanks for that. I think it's also nice to hear from the perspective of an athlete as well as a coach. I think we have two different very sound advices from you ladies. I really like that. And also I think we are slowly coming to the end of our conversation. Just slowly wrapping up. And this is really through some of our research that me and Bella, our showrunner, has done, is that through our research, teenage girls drop out of sport at a starkly different rate than their male peers. And there's this report from the Canadian Women in Sport found that among girls who have participated in a sport, 1 in 3 would leave sports by their late teens, right? So also something that I personally have experienced, and I do tend to ask as well. Me and Bella was just talking about it. Yeah, it's true. Like, you know, back when we were in high school, we participate in sports. We have our sports day, you know, that there are this particular sport that we would represent the school for. But for some reason, after SPM, we don't really go back to it. Like, we don't even touch it, no matter how much we love the sport at some point. So why is that? And why do you think is that? Is there a lack of opportunities for women or girls, young girls? And what do you think we can do to lead this next generation of athletes, male and female, and especially female, because of such lack opportunities for the girls to rise? What do you think can be done? And what do you think is lack of at the moment?
For me, like personal experience is that the lack of a safe space, because when I was growing up, when girls play sports, you're criticized for your body, you're body shamed.
That's true.
And you're only allowed a certain type of sport because it's seen as feminine. So if we can create a safe space in school for women or girls to explore different types of sports, then they'll feel safe to pursue that further once they leave that environment. So I think that's a big one.
I can actually relate to you, Cash, what you said about when a girl or me, this is my personal experience. I remember getting into fitness quite a bit in my early years before I became a coach myself. I was told by a couple of family members not to lift so much weights because I look like a man. I'm too muscular. So then, as much as I didn't want it to affect me, it did. It did make me realize, oh, do I look like a man? I was so overly conscious about the way I look, and I ended up not doing it for a bit. But of course, you know, with the support system, which is very important, that got me back into it. But what I'm saying is girls go through that, and not everyone is lucky enough to maybe have the support system. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. I could definitely relate.
I think for me, I think opportunity is something that's very important. For example, I was very lucky because both my parents were in sports, and then we called around and we found out that there was a gym in Shah Alam, and it kind of grew from there. But I think knowledge, opportunity, and also especially for parents to know that even doing something like this, giving them opportunity, telling them, especially parents, that, you know, being in sports is very good opportunity for your girls, even if they don't want to pursue it to become a professional athlete. You can do it for strength, for support, for team, for learning how to be dedicated. That is very important for the development of a child. And I also know, because I work closely with the National Majlis Sukan Negara, they've actually just launched a women in sport department that really focuses on building up women. And especially now, I know they're working very closely with women's sports, for example, football, rugby, netball, I believe. And I think that is a first step, but it's also raising awareness, and especially in schools and like people like us. And it starts from the grassroots of really telling and informing the media, and then changing the narrative behind, okay, it's all right for a girl to run like a girl, to be muscular, to be masculine, to be, you know, all these terms that we always have a divide, a binary where, you know, this is masculine, this is feminine. That kind of narrative needs to change. And I think it really starts with us and to build that up. And especially with young girls, I think it's very important for them to hear in the media to change the way. For example, I don't know why there's always like the 10 hottest female athletes at a game. And it's and I don't see that for men. It's something that needs to change, because it really does put where, oh, my looks, I should be judged on my character, my performance, and how well I do, instead of how I look. It doesn't matter how I look. It's the dedication and everything that I put into it. So I think that really needs to change. But I know more opportunities are opening up, and I hope that this really drives into the future, where we have more girls who are very excited to become athletes, to become sportsmen, to become coaches, to be in all levels of the sporting industry.
And know that sports isn't just exclusive for men, or not just reserved for men. It's for everyone. Carolyn, you want to share? You're good. The ladies covered everything.
She's like, yep, that's how I want to
Yep. Tick, tick, tick. Oh my goodness. I love what we had today. I love the conversation, and I love that we are starting this conversation. I'm pretty sure we're not the first one, but the fact that we're continuing the conversation, I think that's very, very important. And I definitely want to send my future kids, girls, boys, to do sports, right? And I have seen personally firsthand how it does really shape you, not just physically, changes you as a human being, having more discipline, being more laser focused in the things you do. And just like, I really like what you shared, Carolyn, just knowing what you want. And that has really, it embodies what you do today as well with for you and the girls. So having said that, I'm done with my formal, boring questions, okay? We're going to move on to some interesting questions that some of our audience and your fans sent in. So, all right, let's go for this one. Steffi_likes. She asked, what are your hobbies and interests outside of sports? I think we talked about football and gymnastics a lot. So what's outside of it?
Well, I actually have an advanced license for scuba diving.
Ooh.
So I love being at the sea. So when I have the very limited time that I go scuba diving because actually my mom started it. So like the whole family now is scuba dive. So I love that. And I love reading as well. Yeah. So those two things. The only time that I have.
What about you, Kesh?
I think quite similarly, there's very limited time. So usually I try to spend it with people that I care about because it's hard to spend time with them or have same schedule where we could go out.
That's true.
So usually it's spending that chunk of time with them. Reading, I read a lot because from lawyer days from when I was younger. So those are the main ones. And then when it was possible was traveling.
Yes. I mean, well, technically we can travel now. Yeah, just a little bit troublesome and expensive. I don't think there's such thing as a budget travel anymore because you probably have to do like 10,000 PCR tests on a short trip, okay? But what about you, Carolyn?
Mine would be spending time with family. I have 2 kids now.
Yay!
So it's really all about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just spending time. We can't really go out, so we'll do activities at home. I'm sending my kid to school, so she's learning things. So I'm gradually going into that as well as a mother, just teaching them slowly. And my older daughter just started gymnastics today. So we'll try that out. We'll see how that goes. But it's really more, again, just for an activity for her to have fun, not so much on being serious and all that. Yeah.
But who knows? It's in the blood.
We'll see.
We'll see. Check in again in 2 years.
It's been a Commonwealth Games 20 something.
Okay, next question. All right. I think this one we asked before, but I'm just going to ask again because I think some of you may not have answered it. This is from Wayward. Wonderful. She asked, what's your pillar of strength that keeps you doing what you do? Kesh, maybe you want to take this.
I think the first one will be my family and the support system that I have. But another big one is the players that I have. I think everything that I do translates to them and the way they receive it and the performance and just in general how they view life and take on life. So even when you're having a really bad day, a really bad time, and then you remember that keeps you going. So I think that was a big one for me.
Anyone else?
I think we kind of like covered it.
Yeah, you covered it.
Like family, coach.
Yeah, I think you guys covered it quite a bit just now. Okay. This is from Ali. Okay, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but ALYFRHNH. Yeah. So I'm just so you know who you are. When was the moment, if you remember that one moment, that you knew this is it? Macam finding the one, right? But this in terms of sports, lah.
I think
that moment.
For me, I remember being 6 years old and we had MSSS, which is for the state. We had a competition and I did quite well, won a couple of medals, and then so you qualify to MSSM, which is you represent the state, Selangor. And then I didn't get to go and I was really upset. And I went and I told my mom and I told the coaches, I'm like, no, why can't I go? You know, I did so well. And they're like, you have to be 7. You have to be in school.
That's why you couldn't go.
Because you had to be 7. Okay. And I remember then when I was 7, I qualified and went for my first competition. And this is a story my mom told me. And we were driving because at that time my parents would drive me to all my competitions. So we all packed ourselves in the answer van. We're going. My mom, and I told my mom, she told me, she's like, you know when you're little, you said, Mommy, how am I going to win this competition? I said, because at that time I was 7, so the category is 12 and below, right? 7 to 12. So I said, there'll be all these 12-year-old girls, how am I going to win? Then my mom said, it's okay, you just compete. I said, no, I have to win. Then my mom's, I think at that point, the whole realization of me and my parents were like, oh, okay, I think she's in it for the long run. Well, I think those are the moments where I really knew when I was young that I really loved this sport. And I think it was just at particular moments of like being in training and competing was like I don't think there's ever a moment. It's like a lot of moments.
Many moments that lead to that big moment, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Mine was gradual as well, you know. So I was just doing gymnastics for fun.
Yeah.
And then I started competing in MSSS, MSSM, MSSKWP. So So and then there was a time where they were actually selecting girls for the national team, and I went for that, and I did not get qualified, so I wasn't picked at all, right? So my mom was like, never mind, you try again, you know, no big deal. So the next time it came again, so I went through that process again, and I was actually the last person to get cut for the Commonwealth Games team.
Oh.
So so from there were just 12 girls. So I got into that cut. I was the 12th girl.
Wow.
And the last girl from all the other girls that came in before this. So then from there they start cutting, you know, they cut down, right? And then obviously it was a lot of work. And then we got to 3 and I was the top 3.
Wow.
So that was a really good thing for me.
Love that. Yeah. Cash, do you have any?
I think for me, it's not just one moment. It's a gradual, small moments building to it. But I remember one particular one where I was standing by the side of the pitch, and I remember thinking I've not enjoyed anything more than what I'm doing right now. So I think that until now, I've not found a similar thing at that level.
Wow.
So that was the moment.
That's beautiful. Okay, last question. This is from Chao, CHAO_main. She asked, does having a crowd during tournaments affect your performance in any way? I know Carolyn's answer. You want to go?
Affects in the best way. I love the crowd. I really love the crowd. And for me, it gives me that energy and that boost to even perform even better. So for me, the more crowd, the better. The louder you go, the better.
Which explains your goal in 1998.
Yes.
Because Commonwealth Games at the time was in Malaysia.
Yes.
So your whole family was there?
Yes, everyone was there. My brother was even in my tracksuit. Right? And he had his face painted the Malaysian flag.
Yeah.
And he had all his friends coming as well to support. So that was the best thing for me to know that everyone was there to support not just my family but also the whole of Malaysia.
Love that. What about you, Farah?
Oh yeah, I love the crowd as well.
Okay.
I love the crowd, and my best event is like the floor exercise, and it's where I really get to showcase my personality. And it really was, especially like even in SEA Games, for me, it was SEA Games in 2017. And it was the Malaysian crowd. And my parents are always there, but this time it was like my parents, my friends, and especially funny because my university friends has never watched me compete.
Yeah.
And so for them, I was like, what does she actually do? And they were like, oh my God, you're actually quite good. I'm like, thank you. So it really is such an amazing experience to have a crowd. But I think other than being in Malaysia and competing, the first time I actually saw a full stadium, because in Malaysia, gymnastics for artistic, when we have national championships, it's usually just our parents and your friends. So it's never like a full stadium.
Yeah. But
I remember in Scotland, it was the first time there was like a countdown, and I walked out, and this stadium is 3-tiered.
Wow.
And it was filled to the brim.
Oh
and it was the first time I had ever seen that many people in the stadium and everyone cheering. And I was a bit, I was stunned. I was like, oh my God. And that was the time I performed at my best. So the conclusion is that I love the crowd.
I love it. So next time we all satu kampung go watch them, okay?
But SEA Games in Malaysia as well was the most amazing thing, and especially because everyone's in a tiger
with the flags on.
With the flags, and the people painted their face, and like my parents are all like wearing all my tiger, like all the tiger shirts, right? So you have like tiger shirts from like 2005. That one is 8. That one is 9.
And you know they're all big size, right? So everyone in the family can wear it, you know, and it's all too loose for us.
So everyone's like, well, that's mine. That's also mine. And because my dad was actually team manager for the 2015 SEA Games, so he was there with me when I was competing. He was my team manager. So my dad was behind me wearing the tiger shirt as well. And you know, so when we won the first gold in, I think 10 years at that time? And the last time we won was in 2001, and then we won for the first time in 2015. The SEA Games gold medal. Like the whole, like we all erupted, my parents and everyone's crying, and I think that was also one of the best experiences.
Man, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh man, okay. Can everybody cheer? 1, 2, go. Yeah! Nothing compared to the stadium, but at least something. Okay, Cash, what about you? Last one before we wrap up.
I think it's quite the opposite.
Oh.
Because typically, like, our audience are more male.
Aggressive? Would you say?
No, because me being like the only female coach there, coaching a men's team against men's team, it's usually more like harassment and like nonsense. But I think that's also quite interesting because I found that it drives the boys' performance. So yeah, so sometimes you get upset over it depending on the things that are being said. But I also think it's quite an interesting one because it actually pushes you to do even better.
Yeah, it does.
It just depends on how you take it. So
that's very interesting actually, because it's different with gymnastics. Like with Cash is football, like I feel like they're rowdy all the time. But with gymnastics it's different because they know when to. It's very different because with gymnastics they know when to be silent. So the crowd actually knows when to yell.
Yeah, you don't have random people just telling you what to do.
No,
right?
you don't have.
Farah, do that.
Yeah, suddenly you're on the beam and suddenly you're like people don't do that. Like they kind of
Okay.
respect. So I think that's very different.
crowds.
A different crowd. So I guess we're very lucky. To have that crowd. But I've been in a football stadium before when like a game and actually that crowd is amazing. Especially the ultras.
oh, okay.
With ultras, it's such an amazing different crowd lah.
So that's one thing for the rest of us to know. Let's be better crowds, okay? Just keep our mouth shut when we don't have to say anything because it may affect their performances and we don't want to be responsible for that. But that aside, ladies, it's been so nice having you here. I think that conversation was super wholesome. It was so fun and funny at the same time. And at the same time, we got to know so much about you. And I just want to thank you for your time today. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, and of course, special thanks to the British High Commission Kuala Lumpur, of course, for making this happen. And I think if they didn't approach the team for this, we wouldn't have made this happen. So I'm very, very happy that it did, and you ladies could make time because I'm pretty sure you're all very, very busy women. So yes, we want to bring out the Commonwealth values as well, and also very happy that we did through this conversation that we had. And to those of you guys who don't know, the values of Commonwealth are inclusivity, equality, diversity, and humanity. So for more information, you guys feel free to follow UK in Malaysia. That's their Instagram page for some exclusive interviews that will be coming up very, very soon to learn more about the journey. And of course, to stay tuned to more updates on the upcoming Commonwealth Games that will be happening on the 28th of July all the way till 8th of August. All right, guys, that will be happening in Birmingham. So if you can't go to Birmingham, you can watch it on TV. All right, guys, I think with that, it is the end of the episode. Feel free to follow them on Instagram. Ladies, can you just plug in your Instagram real quick right now?
All right. Mine is at Keshika Subbarao. And that's it.
And
Mine is Farah Ann 94 on Instagram, Farah Ann Hadi on Twitter, and Farah Ann Official on everything else.
Mine is my school's Instagram, which is Carolyn CSRG Rocks.
that's right. It rocks. All you ladies rock. And thank you so much for today. And with that, I always say this. Don't forget to follow Head Over Heels for yourself first. And always, until then, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.